Are you a fan of the podcast Gossipmongers? I guess you are because you clicked on the video, but by the end of this video you might not be a fan anymore. So Gossipmongers is three comedians who read out gossip or rumours that people email into them, and they just break apart how ridiculous or over the top or hilarious or completely unbelievable the gossip is, and it just always ends up with them in fits of laughter. It's hilarious. You might have heard of a couple of them before. So there's Joe Wilkinson, who is a comedian. He's been on 8 out of 10 Cats. There's David Earl, who's been in a few Ricky Gervais shows. And there's a kind of relatively unknown comedian called Poppy Hillstead. That's the three of them. So Gossipmongers is incredible, or at least it was, until about a week ago. If you're subscribed to them on the Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify or wherever, then you would have seen a week ago, season 4 is out. Amazing. But listening to it, you would have noticed the elephant in the room. Where is Poppy? So I'm going to dive into the controversy surrounding why Poppy's not there, and hopefully reveal a couple truths to other Gossipmongers fans like you and me. Because I'm a fan too, I want to know what happened. So don't come at me with pitchforks when all I'm doing is reporting the facts, you know. I'm like a Wavy Web Surf or Wang, but with like 1% of the subscribers. So the timeline of events. We've got Gossipmongers, amazingly hilarious podcast, everyone loves it, but it got big through word of mouth, whatever, and that's how it grew. 3 seasons deep they were up until about a week ago. And then out of nowhere, Poppy releases a brand new podcast starring just her. It's called Poppy Hillstead Has Entered the Chat. But the weird thing is that she combined it with a caption that said she's had a rough few months or something like that, a bad few months, something. And just a bit about that, Poppy Hillstead Has Entered the Chat is this really funny podcast again, where she basically goes into chat rooms and redoes the conversations that she has, but with actors. And it's always just filthy nonsense and it's funny. And then around the same time-ish, there were some announcements from David Earl and Joe Wilkinson that they are recording season 4 of Gossipmongers. So they posted a couple little clips of them recording on their webcams and stuff. But as people realised, Poppy wasn't there. And all the comments showed, where's Poppy, where's Poppy, why is it just you two, what's going on? Then we go on a bit further, Poppy Hillstead Has Entered the Chat becomes a bit more popular and more popular, about 5 episodes in, something like that. Then in mid-September 2020, the official Gossipmongers podcast Twitter account announces season 4 is ready. That's it, season 4, we're here. Have fun with a new episode. But there's something not quite right. Listening to this first episode of season 4, instead of announcing the 3 names, the little robot only announces David Earl and Joe Wilkinson, with no Poppy. Then you listen to it some more, you listen to the whole thing, the whole half hour, you realise there's no Poppy. You look at the artwork, suddenly she's out of the artwork. It used to be all 3 of them, now it's just David Earl, Joe Wilkinson. You look at the authors on Google Podcasts or wherever, it just says David Earl, Joe Wilkinson, no Poppy. And the most weird part is that the entirety of seasons 1 to 3 have been deleted. So if you've got these seasons downloaded, please keep hold of them. Obviously, this made a lot of people ask, where's Poppy, what's going on, what's going on? Please tell us, Gossipmongers, what the hell is going on? And then Poppy posted this. After 3 series, having built the podcast with them and having never had a bad note from them, out of nowhere, David and Joe decided to kick me out via their agents, saying that I lacked the experience needed and this opportunity has come a little too soon for her. Now they've took all the old episodes down. Thought these guys were my friends, but yeah. Thanks for all asking after me, it's been a bit of a tough time. I have a new podcast now called Poppy Hillstead Has Entered the Chat, if you fancy listening. P.S. There wasn't any window, I just shouted at the wall. So I don't want to be really judgmental about this because I don't know the whole story. That's the thing. So far, a week after this, we've only heard Poppy's side of the story. So then 2 main things happen. A lot of people show their support for Poppy. And a lot of people show their disdain for David Earl and Joe Wilkinson. Straight after this, Joe and David weren't actually acknowledging anything until David tweeted something about Twitter being a vile place or something like this. Now obviously we don't know what that's referring to, but I mean, he's just received a lot of bad messages about Poppy leaving the podcast, so maybe it's about that. Little development next, he instantly deletes his Twitter. Now, his entire Twitter account is inactive. And at this point, there's been absolutely nothing from Joe Wilkinson at all. Meanwhile, Poppy's new podcast continues to get more and more popular. Suddenly she's charting. Suddenly she's charting ahead of Gossipmongers. Next development, David Earl deletes his Twitch account. Again, we don't know why that's happened. Maybe he was getting bad messages on there, maybe something else, we don't know. Also during this time, Poppy shares this little drawing that she's done, because she's an artist as well, of this, I'm not going to describe what it is, but have a look and it just says, "Thank you for the support." So I'm guessing that she's had even more personal messages as well. And now, it's about 4 or 5 days after season 4 of Gossipmongers has been released, and we're still waiting for word from Joe Wilkinson or David Earl. We don't know what's happened. I was thinking that once Poppy had gone and Joe and David had started recording season 4 by themselves, then they finished recording, they hit the stop button, does David then turn to Joe and say, "I think we f***ed up here," or not? Like, do they think that there's been a mistake made? I don't know. We don't know what's happened. That's my point. There's so many questions that need to be answered. Questions like, why? I mean, that's the big one, obviously. Why did it happen? Was it the reason that Poppy said about lacking experience? When did this all go down? I mean, it looked like, according to the timeline, that it happened way before season 4 was released, and obviously before season 4 was recorded. Another question, if what Poppy says is true, why did David and Joe get their agents to do it, instead of them messaging Poppy themselves? If what she says is true. This question's kind of related to the first question, really, but if it was an amicable departure, why are David and Joe trying to basically erase Poppy from history? You know, they've deleted seasons 1, 2, 3. They have got a new artwork, which doesn't feature Poppy. They've taken her name out of the author list. It's so weird. I mean, they've named the new season Season 4, so they know that people are going to go and search for seasons 1, 2, and 3 now. This last question might be a bit more pertinent. They normally have celebrity guests on every episode, or almost every episode, season 1, 2, and 3. But this new episode of season 4 doesn't have a celebrity cameo. So this is something I noticed whilst editing this video. So I was looking at YouTube for the channels of David or Joe or Poppy or something like that, and I found Brian Gittins' channel, which is David's character. So he's just called it, you know, his character's name. And this video from 2012 features Poppy, which I wouldn't have even thought about really, but it just means that they have known each other since 2012 at least. It could have gone back even further than that. But we don't know. Anyway, back to the past, George. In my opinion, the bottom line is this. The thing that made Gossipmongers so incredible is not the hilarious stories, it's not the funny words and people that they talked about, it's not the robot voice. It was incredible because it felt like 3 friends chatting utter nonsense for half an hour. But now, Gossipmongers is certainly not friends chatting anymore, like it used to be, at least according to Poppy, when she said, "I thought these guys were my friends." And by removing the friends chatting element, what have you got left? So thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please tell me below, give it a like and subscribe. I've never done a video like this before, so if you hate it, please tell me that as well. All I'm doing is sharing the known facts as they are at the moment, you know, because I want to carry on liking Gossipmongers. I want to carry on liking Joe Wilkinson and David Earl. If this is your first time seeing me, welcome to Jam Punch. It's a tiny channel, but maybe I'll make more videos just like this. Do you want that? Tell me below. Anyway, my name is George, this is Jam Punch, and I'll see you next week.